Alright, so we want to keep on going on this game. Let's see, last time I made a square. I made a single tile for a space in the game. Next I want to start making a map. That means I'm going to make a room, and then I'll make a pattern for that room, and that will be it. I probably don't remember enough file stuff to actually turn it into a file thing. I should, but I won't. I'll just use the same room pattern until later on, until after I've done these 7 things and go on to the next phase. I'll make little room making procedures. After I do this, I'm going to make a dude so I can move around the room. That'll be the next video. Then I'll make a hallway that does some procedural generation, do some random things, and gives me a kind of hallway with a funny looking shape. And then we'll make some stuff. We'll make a thing that you can pick up and a stairway that will attach to the room, that initial room at one end of the hallway, so that when you get the thing at the end of the hallway, go back to the stairway, and then you win. You can't lose at that point, but you can win. Then we'll make a monster, and that'll be somewhere in between you and the thing. At first, right, that's just going to be in the hallway, right? Then maybe I need to add a little tiny bit of AI so that it walks down the hallway and meets you in the middle. I don't know. After that, we'll make a simple puzzle. And then we'll have most of the elements that we need, and everything else is just, the hard stuff. So let's just go ahead with making a room. Like I said, what I need to do is I need to go over to my model, and now I have to make a map. All right. So we have to initialize that, self, and something or other. I'm not sure if we need anything like that. Let's just add a seed equals 0. So the seed will let me remake the same map later on when I make my own random number generator that does things the way I want them to do with seeds. But first thing is just make a map. We'll just say self seed equals seed. That's enough for it, but we want something to put everything into. So we'll make a group of squares and just have it be empty. So we'll have to somehow fill up those squares. That's what we'll do. Then what are we going to do? At some point we're going to need to view this. So we'll have view self. Alright, and we'll probably need something like an upper left-hand corner. We'll start with 0, 0, and a size. And that should be, let's just call it 225 by 225. Let's call it 225 by 225. Let's see if that's the right size. Did we have another size running around somewhere? We had it in the viewer, didn't we? So the viewer is going to give us what the real size is. So let's look at the viewer. My self scale is at 15, not 25. So 15 times 5 is much less than... Oh, that was too much anyway. That seems way too small. Okay, we'll just deal with that. Let's see, how do we deal with this? So let's just pretend that we're going to do the same thing that we did before. I might have to do a scale here instead. So down here in my viewer, set viewer. Oh no, I put all those fun things over in the other spot. So I want the viewer out of here if I want to make a big what I'm going to do is I'm just going to send in the map. Is that the right thing to do? If I send in the map, then I can just do something like this. I can say for, and a scale here, for square in self squares. This is something I'd have to do anyway. Square view. What do I get? Let's see. What do I do for my view? I have a scale in that. So square view scale. And that gives me a single tile to place on the square. So what do I do with that? I want to put that in the spot for the square. So we have x comma y equals self dot or square, and we need to get the position. I often see get pos. I'm going to use get position. Alright, so I have to modify square here, return self x comma self y. That'll give a tuple that'll come back here in a mutable object that I cannot change. I put them in variables x and y here. I get the thing from there. And then on the map, draw the square. Now what I want to do is just send the square there. There's too much stuff going on in this thing. I'm just going to send the squares to the map, actually. So I'm going to make a graphics map that'll deal with this as well. So now I've got two different kinds of maps. That makes me sad. So going to change this to board. So the board is going to be the so which relay should represent the board? Should it be the thing that this person sees? Probably. Okay, I'm sorry. This is obviously very much different from whatever I did before. So now I'm making decisions. So I'm just going to send to the board all these squares, and then I'll make that equal to the map, and I'll return the map. So the only thing I'm worried about is how that's going to work with moving the little dude around. We'll worry about that later. I know I'm going to have to be able to add a square. So let's just append it here, because we'll need it later. Let's see. The only thing I don't have here is a really good generator. A really good generator would give me a grid to be putting things on. I'm probably going to have to wait until I'm making my hallway for that. Let's just get something that looks like a map going on. When we make the hallway, we can make a larger empty grid and start filling things in. I think there's a reasonable rationale for that. What did I forget? I forgot the colon. Okay. Okay, and right now we don't need a scale, so we might just get rid of that later on. Okay, so the viewer has a map that it's subscribed to. Which is right now just a square. So I'm going to make that class board, def init self size is equal to 100. Self x equals size 0, or actually this is better, self x, self y equals size. Okay, that gives me that. Now what we want to do is we want to make our output board. I think it was probably a lot easier just redrawing everything every time. Actually, right now that's what this is going to do. All right. and I'm going to convert. I think, if I remember right, that's what that looks like. I've lost stuff. So I'm going to an old thing. There it is. Oh, set color key. So I'm going to set color key, not convert. And that makes everything blank. So you can see through it. I'm not sure if I really want to do that. And actually, I didn't even paste over it, so it doesn't matter. No, I don't want to do that. I just want a big blank. Well, let's leave it at 63, 63, 63. Def view self. Okay, so we're going to view self. Turn the self board. That's all I really need to do right now. I'll have center and size. So later on we can use center and size to cut the board to fit where we want it to fit on the view screen. Alright, and the size, yeah. Oh, 200, 200. But right now we're not going to need any extra stuff. We'll worry about all that other stuff later. The center is obviously going to be where the dude is, the center of the dude, and the size is going to be the size of the viewing area. And yeah, we don't need to do anything with this guy. We just need to have him create the picture to send back. All right, we also said we had a draw squares. Do we really want to draw squares? It might be a better thing we could draw, right? So I'd rather, for square in squares, self squares, I would have had a problem there anyway. Map equals board view, and position equals square get position, and picture equals square view scale. And then we say board draw object square or picture, position, scale. So the board is going to need to know the scale to figure out where to actually put the picture. Alright, so draw object. Self, picture, position, scale. Let's just say self board, lit, picture, XY. Alright, so what do we have? We need a picture, or we have a position. XY equals pos. And X times equals scale, Y times equals scale. Here did I screw up? One more parenthesis. And line 76. What did I screw up here? Another parenthesis. All right. More active programming. Woo! Okay, so let's see what happens if I make this into a map and square equals square. Now we're going to say self map add square. Or do I have an error? Blows up at square, add square takes 2 arguments, 1 given. Oh, I forgot to add the square. All right. Now where else will it blow up? Draw object became okay, so this is getting called view from here. So let's see. I didn't really do anything with this view. So self map. Okay, so this doesn't look like a good way to do it. Self map view Okay, so we want to view this map that I made over here. The only thing I have for him is a scale, so I might need to store the board in that thing. Oh, I'm not sending a board. And I don't have the board that I'm not putting a board in here. So I can either have a board game view board. I don't like that. I'm not sure if I want to have the board be stored in the map, although that might be good for other reasons down the line. So I was thinking about it, and then I was not thinking about it, then I was thinking about it again. Scale is not defined. Okay, so this one wants scale. That one should have just size. Oh, didn't get all of the selfs. And I don't want any slefs. So let's see what I have. Oh, I feel sorry for you. There is no self-board view. I thought I put a view on board. Did I misspell view? Okay, that worked out pretty well. So the gray area is I made it gray on purpose over here. So you see there's a, let's see, if I come over to the view, for the board, I filled it with this gray stuff here. That 63, 63, 63 is gray. So I've got the gray area, and then I have my little square that I had before just sitting there. So I'm halfway done. I wanted to make a map. I did make a map that has one square in it. Now I want to hand to make a pattern that's 5 by 5. Oops. Okay, hopefully that was okay. That whatever happened. Oh, it thinks I tried to resize. Okay, and I didn't put all the resize stuff in. All right, so now I need a larger board. Okay, so how am I going to do that? So I'm going to initialize the map, or I'll create the map. And I'll just take all this nasty stuff and put it right in here and say self.create map. All right, so later on, this will go in and it'll do all sorts of stuff and it'll call different procedures and stuff like that. But right now, it's just going to make a map. Okay, so I am going to add data so that I can make my room, which is going to be 5 by 5, but it's actually going to be a 3 by 3 room with rounded corners and stuff at the edges, right? So it's going to look like this. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, comma. 1, 0, 0, 0. Actually, probably I want 0 to be walls, right? 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0. 0, or is that what I want? I want 5 of these. Okay, so this is not going to make the pattern that I wanted, but it will make a pattern nonetheless. Need one more copy of that. And 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And that should give me my data. Okay, so I'm going to do for row in data, for column in row, xy equals row column. Maybe it should be column row, I don't know right now. I can't tell you how many times I've had errors with that. And square equals square. At the end I want self map add square, but I want this to have a position. The position is what the square comes with normally. So we'll go with, oops, that's too early, x comma y. That'll add that thing. I'm not sure what I should do. I want to show the difference between the two types of squares. We don't really need two types of squares right now. Well, the other option is to actually do something like give these a name. Name equals blank square. Def set name. Self name equals self name equals name. If I'm going to need to do this set. So I'm going to put a real setter in here for the position, self position, self.x equals, or self x comma self y. That's the Python way, is position. So that should be fine. So I'm going to switch this position to type because I'm not using position anyway. I think type is too early. So we don't want to worry too much about this. Set name, set position. Set open self. I don't like open. I need another thing for that, for you can move through it. Make open self. Makes allows travel through a square. Self open equals true. And equals false. Alright, and we're going to do something over here. So if we make it open, it'll have the empty square, and if it doesn't, it'll have a filled square. So that'll make an error for me if I forget about it. So let's just go up here and okay, we want to do this. If data column row square make open. Alright, and this guy, self-name equals room. Self-name, let's see, we might need some other kind of identification later on to identify rooms. Right now I'm just worried about making the map. We'll worry about making rooms later on with the make a puzzle maybe. And where am I? Okay, so I guess that'll work. I need the filled square in the game view. What breaks? Oh, column. Oh. Oh, bad me, bad me, bad me. Okay, so this is not giving me what I want. For row in range length data, or column in range length row, Let's see, row column. Okay, so that's exactly what I want X and Y to be. I don't need to actually do anything here, right? Since I already have row and column, I can just put them here. Data, if column row, that's this thing, open square. And let's see what bad things happen now. Int has no lane. Ooh. Row. Data row. Okay. Two different paradigms, one brain, it'll never work. Okay, didn't quite work out. Pretty close. So these guys are all filled in. This guy is not. Is that because I did something? Oh, I did something wrong here. Okay. All right, and now I have a map, right, with different kinds of things and some little spaces to move around in. I need to figure out how to, well, I should figure out how big the map that I'm making the board for is. Did I move the, I forget, did I move the board into the map? Yes, I did. The problem with that is changing the scale. Right. So I guess it's no major issue. And another problem is putting the board in this is good. The only thing is that you want to be able to redo the map, right? For different scales. That's not too much of a problem. So right now it's redrawing everything on the same board, right? And then we're just moving the board. Well, we're not even moving the board around yet. Probably the real bonus if I have the board in the map, if I leave the board here, the bonus is that I can just make the board, and only when there's a problem, only when there's a change in the actual map, do I have to do the thing for the view here. And in fact, what I could do is I could leave the board here and make a copy of the board, and then draw all the top-level objects for each one of the squares, right? Right on top of the map. And until something actually happens, we don't have to worry about it. Furthermore, we could do something like just remember the board, right? In a duller in a duller situation, and then when we're checking line of sight, just light up the things each turn that the player can see. So I have to think about what I want to do with that board. I really don't want that board in here. I'd like that board to be in the viewer instead. That's not really true. Right? See, again, I don't really know. I like the board to go with the map, and then I'd like to make different maps for each level. And then I can, when you go back to a level, it'll pick up that map in some way. And then I think everything would be pretty hunky-dory, right? So I think that's all right. Anyways, we got to our objective. It wasn't pretty, and it never will be, because I'm not really a pretty programmer. I'm a physicist, not a programmer. And so we've got this guy here. This is a static size right now, although it's too small. I don't really know how big we want it. Yeah, let's just make that a bigger board. Let's see, the board is 100 by 100. How big is our... self size is given in the main. It's not given in the main. Oh, it is 1280 by 720. Okay, so let's just make it 800 by 600. And let's move it by 200 horizontally and 80 vertically. All right. Okay, so now I've got all that area for Matt. That's probably too big. We need room for other things, but this is much closer to the right size, and we can work with that until we start putting player data and messages on this thing. Okay, yeah. I feel that's looking pretty good, except now I want to check the scale. So let's go with 25, and maybe offline I should... Oh, that scale doesn't change this scale. See, that was a good idea. Checking that. So where map is self scale. So then we go to the map. Scale. Oh. Empty square scale. Let's see. Okay, so we need to reset that scale on the viewer, right? Self.viewer, self-view. Oh, but the viewer is not a class. Okay, so maybe it's in the board here. Okay, so the board just gets the picture. All right. And the picture has the scale, and the scale that's passed, I think, is 25. So I'm going to put a print in there. This is a Python 2, so its print is a statement. And so it's getting 25. Is getting 25. Okay, self scale. I wonder, does that need the self? There's no selves in here. Let's see if this breaks it. Oh, it fixed it. Okay. So there, that fixed it. It just runs that function, but it doesn't think about the selfie bits. I don't like that. So what we'll do is we'll fix that. And what do we... square scale. Okay. So now the reason why I changed that is because even though there's nothing in here right now that uses data from the square, I want to be able to use data from the square to draw this thing, like colors and things like that. There should be something about, I should be able to use data from the square. Just, you know, the square shouldn't know the difference between a wall and something else. But I think this will do. What happened to my pretty picture? My pretty picture went away. But I think this will do. So that's my babbling for an hour. I just want one more look at that. Yeah, that's good. I like that. I like that very much. Especially, I like having a little spot in between. And we'll figure out what to do with all this later on. But right now, I will think about other things and not talk at my computer quite so much. Bye now.